January 2026 was supposed to be a reset, a new year, clean slate, California sunshine, and carefully curated silence. Meghan Markle believed the past was finally behind her. Netflix clips were rolling, lifestyle branding was back on schedule, jam jars, soft lighting, controlled smiles. The story had been rewritten, polished, and safely locked away. Or so she thought, because just as the calendar flipped, something ancient and dangerous resurfaced, not from tabloids, not from gossip blogs, but from the one place secrets never truly die, the Epstein files. When Prince Andrew's name exploded back into headlines yet again, most people thought they already knew this story. Epstein, Maxwell, denials, that infamous interview, a disgraced prince quietly erased from public duty. Old news, right? Except this time, the release wasn't rumor-based or selective. It was massive. Over 300,000 documents dropped at once, raw and unfiltered. And buried deep inside that data dump was something that changed the conversation instantly. Yacht photographs. Not grainy party shots, not distant silhouettes. Clear images showing Prince Andrew surrounded by women, relaxed, indulgent, completely at home. And the location stopped people cold. Sandringham, not a rented villa, not a foreign island, a royal estate. That's when the questions began to spiral. If Andrew was comfortable enough to host Epstein's circle inside royal grounds, what else had crossed those gates? And who else had moved through that same world long before the public ever noticed them? Within hours, one name began trending harder than anyone expected: Meghan Markle. Not because she appeared in the photos, not yet, but because her name had already been quietly circulating in investigative circles for years, attached to whispers about yachts, elite networking, and a social ladder climbed far faster than her resume ever explained. Here's the part that makes the palace nervous. Andrew's relationship with Epstein didn't start in the shadows. It started openly in 1999 through Ghislaine Maxwell. It continued well past Epstein's 2008 conviction, despite denials. And those infamous yacht parties in Phuket weren't vacations. They were curated environments, powerful men, ambitious women, introductions that changed lives. According to Maxwell's own biographer, Meghan's name repeatedly surfaced in discussions about who attended those gatherings, not as a rumor, as a point of interest. That alone would have stayed fringe, if not for one connective thread that refuses to go away: Marcus Anderson, Soho House executive, Meghan's closest ally, the man who later introduced her to Prince Harry. Photographs place a man believed to be Marcus Anderson on yachts with Prince Andrew back in 2001. Same locations, same time frame, same exclusive circles. 15 years before Meghan meets Harry, 15 years before the fairy tale begins. This is where the story shifts from scandal to pattern, because patterns don't care about PR. They don't care about carefully worded interviews or curated victim narratives. Patterns expose how power actually moves. And once people started lining up the timelines, the silence from Buckingham Palace became louder than any denial ever could. By the end of that week, Meghan wasn't posting, she wasn't responding, she wasn't threatening lawsuits. She did the one thing people do when denial is too dangerous. She went completely quiet, and that silence told its own story.
Let's rewind for a moment. 2001, Phuket, Thailand. Luxury yachts, turquoise waters, a network of the world's most influential men and women whose ambition matched the scale of the estates they visited. Prince Andrew navigates effortlessly, Epstein and Maxwell orchestrating connections with precision. It's a private world built on influence, secrecy, and leverage. And somewhere in that same orbit moves Marcus Anderson, quietly observing, facilitating, recording. Not a random friend, a professional connector, the kind of person who ensures the right introductions happen at the right time. The very man who, years later, introduces Meghan to Harry. Now, consider Meghan at age 20, struggling actress, Los Angeles-bound dreams, living paycheck to paycheck. Official stories paint her rise as a product of talent, perseverance, and serendipity. But when investigative biographers and historians trace her connections, a different pattern emerges. There are photographs, there are timelines, and most importantly, there are eyewitness accounts from sources like Kirby Summers, the Ghislaine Maxwell biographer. Summers repeatedly associates Meghan with those yacht networks, not by conjecture, but after years of research, interviews, and document reviews. This is why Buckingham Palace is panicking. Not because of Andrew's behavior alone, they already dealt with that, but because this timeline implies Meghan's early career may have intersected with Andrew's world. If true, it reframes everything: her knowledge of elite networks, her ability to navigate them, and the meticulous steps that led to her eventual marriage into the royal family. It suggests strategic moves, guided introductions, and careful navigation of a world most actresses never reach. And the palace knows that if this is proven, it undermines the victim narrative carefully cultivated for years. What's keeping Meghan awake at night isn't speculation, it's documentation. Epstein's files didn't just contain casual snapshots, they were a repository of leverage, photos, and records that could connect her to the most secretive circles of the early 2000s. Maxwell, even behind bars, still controls access to knowledge that could validate these connections. Every leak, every release, every photograph Andrew inadvertently brings into the spotlight pushes the potential of that truth closer to the surface. And the most striking part? Marcus Anderson's involvement, a man photographed at the very same events years before he connects Meghan to Harry. A man whose role was never friendship, it was facilitation. He was the bridge, the orchestrator, the quiet operator making introductions that changed Meghan's trajectory. This isn't just gossip, this is investigative observation colliding with a timeline that refuses to be ignored. Silence, in this case, is strategic. Meghan doesn't publicly deny because to do so would invite scrutiny that could reveal what she hopes never surfaces. And the palace remains silent because any statement would force acknowledgement of these hidden networks, potentially confirming what they most fear, that her early rise was not accidental.
By 2004, Meghan graduates and moves to Los Angeles, a city full of struggling actors and broken dreams. Most people start at the bottom, auditioning for small roles, barely making ends meet. But Meghan's path appears different. Photographs and travel records begin to surface, showing her attending ultra-exclusive Monaco events, private yacht gatherings, and luxury parties. Places far beyond the reach of most working actresses. How was she there? Who opened the doors? These aren't coincidences, these are patterns. Marcus Anderson's name keeps appearing as the common thread. As the global membership director for Soho House, he had access to the world's elite. He made connections, orchestrated introductions, and ensured ambitious women like Meghan were placed strategically. This wasn't friendship, it was networking at the highest level, a carefully cultivated rise through society's invisible corridors. The same man would later introduce Meghan to Harry, setting the stage for her royal ascent. Fast forward to 2016, Meghan meets Harry. Another coincidental introduction? Not likely. Through Marcus, she already knows the protocols, the people, the networks. She navigates the world of wealth and influence with the expertise of someone who's been operating inside it for years. Every major break in her life, every step up the ladder, coincides with people connected to Andrew's Epstein-Maxwell circle. This is why Buckingham Palace is terrified, not because of Andrew's past, he's a known quantity, but because Meghan's connections could expose a hidden web of influence reaching the royal family itself. Kirby Summers' biographical work only deepens the suspicion. Years of investigative research link Meghan to yacht parties, Maxwell's networks, and Marcus's facilitation. Summers doesn't speculate, she documents. If her findings are accurate, Meghan's narrative of innocence, naivety, and accidental rise to royalty starts to unravel. And Andrew's leaked yacht photos? They are a reminder of how intertwined these worlds are. Every photo, every document, every record reinforces the potential narrative of a strategically planned climb, not mere chance. The palace remains silent because acknowledgement could validate this timeline. Meghan's careful branding, her Netflix projects, lifestyle empire, and public image are at risk. And Prince Harry? Completely in the dark. He believes in the innocence and authenticity of the woman he married, unaware that past networks may have been carefully navigated long before he entered the picture. The palace's silence is deafening. Normally, when a royal scandal emerges, even rumors, the institution responds swiftly, issuing denials or clarifications. But in Meghan's case, there's nothing. No statement, no defense, no reassurance. Why? Because speaking out could reveal far more than they intend. Acknowledging or denying her connections to Andrew's network risks exposing years of hidden ties, private parties, and elite circles that intersected with Epstein and Maxwell. Silence, in this case, is the safest, but also most revealing strategy. Meanwhile, the leaked 2026 Epstein files keep generating waves. Over 300,000 documents have been released, but insiders say this is just the tip of the iceberg. Each file contains photos, lists of attendees, travel logs, and financial records. If even a fraction of these documents prove Meghan was present or involved in these exclusive networks before meeting Harry, the fallout could be catastrophic. Her carefully curated image of innocence and self-made success would collapse overnight. Marcus Anderson's presence at these yacht parties isn't trivial. He's the connecting thread, the facilitator, the man who strategically introduces the right people to the right worlds. Every major step in Meghan's career, every doorway into wealth, influence, and eventually royalty can be traced through him. And if Maxwell ever decides to release her documentation from prison, the palace knows the proof could validate Summers' investigative claims. That's why Meghan's silence is so calculated. Denying anything could backfire, confirming connections that might already be recorded in classified files. The stakes aren't just personal, they're institutional. Harry's position, the monarchy's reputation, and public trust are all on the line. For Harry, the shocking truth could be devastating. He believed in Meghan's narrative, defended her, and even walked away from royal duties to protect what he thought was an honest relationship. If the reality of her networked ascent surfaces, everything he sacrificed risks being rendered pointless. The story isn't just about Meghan's past, it's about leverage, secrets, and the invisible forces that shaped the royal family's modern history. The final question hanging over this entire saga is simple. When will the rest of the truth emerge? Epstein's files are still being processed, Maxwell is still in prison, and investigators know the value of every document, photo, and message she holds. Each release could rewrite Meghan's story, expose hidden networks, and implicate connections the public never imagined. The palace understands that once these secrets surface, damage control becomes almost impossible. For Meghan, the nightmare is clear. Her brand, her empire, and her carefully constructed public persona, all built on the idea of innocence and struggle, could collapse in an instant. Netflix projects shelved, partnerships terminated, and a global audience realizing she may have been navigating elite networks long before she ever met Harry. And for Harry, the betrayal is not only personal but existential. Every choice he made in defense of Meghan, every family rift he endured, could be revealed as based on a story that was never entirely truthful.
Ultimately, this is more than gossip. It's power, leverage, and secrets intersecting with royalty. The palace's silence, Andrew's leaked photos, Marcus Anderson's strategic role, and Maxwell's potential documentation form a storm brewing quietly behind closed doors. Meghan's silence isn't fear, it's strategy. But the world is watching, files are being opened, and history may soon decide who was innocent, who was calculated, and who ultimately played the game better than anyone anticipated. The truth isn't gone, it's waiting, and when it arrives, it could shake the monarchy, the media, and the public perception of Meghan Markle like never before.